What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Wrenching and Riding TV. This is the second video in the riding series. I want to start off by touching on some of the things that I I guess clarifying some of the things that I sort of touched on last week. Talking about the Tanakh, or Bible. It's basically what Christians would refer to as the Old Testament. I was saying they're basically three letters, which in the Hebrew, they actually mean something. And like the T stands for Torah, the N stands for Nevi'im, and the K stands for Ketuvim. And the Torah is the instructions, and that's the first 5 books of the Bible. And the Nevi'im is the prophets, and then the Ketuvim, which is the writings. So it's basically that sums up the Old Testament, and that hopefully that kind of clarifies what I was talking about there. And I was also talking about understanding the culture more, so you can kind of understand things in the proper context. They were, if you read the Bible, you're going to see that they're nomadic at times, but they're very agriculturally driven people. They're living in the desert. So the God's calendar, is basically, harvest time, and works on an agricultural calendar, for his people. So, and they still use the Hebrew calendar today, and it's quite a bit different than the pagan calendar that we have. That's the common one in the world. So I'm gonna get into day 2 now. I'll be reading out of the King James version of the Bible again. I kind of thinking that I might end up, maybe not this time because I don't have the Jewish Bible yet, but I might just start reading a passage out of each of these books that I have. Do one out of the New International Version, one out of the King James, and one out of the Jewish Bible, and that way we can see the difference in the wording, even because the wording is different. What they say here, I'll do with the 2 that I have today, and give you that. I'm going to start with the King James. So. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day." So that's the second day out of the King James. I'll hop over here to the New International Study Version. Give you their wording. It's just a little different, but I noticed it, and I'm more familiar with the King James. Most people probably are, but it stood out to me. And God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, and there was morning the second day. So they call it expanse. instead of calling it firmament, and he called it sky instead of calling it heaven. And that's just a little different. I'm kind of curious to read the Jewish Bible now, because that's, and that the one that I'm gonna get, it's basically directly transcribed from Hebrew, supposedly. So that's gonna probably be, that's gonna be as close to Hebrew without actually speaking Hebrew as you're gonna get, because it's straight from the source. So this New International Version, this is the new one that all the Bible scholars got together and kind of gave their opinions on. And the study notes in this one I really like. The study notes in the King James, they're all right, but the thing is that what I kind of have got to take away from it so far is that the King James is coming from a stance of God is absolutely the creator. There's no question about it. No one's ever going to question that or anything. So just take what we say as the Word of God and run with it. Where the New International Study Version kind of addresses some of the, concerns and issues that maybe someone who isn't a Bible-believing Christian might have, like, how old the universe is and stuff like that. It actually goes into talking about nobody knows how long creation took and stuff. Like, it could have been a literal day versus, was it millions of years and stuff, and it kind of gives everybody's kind of opinion on that. And I kind of like that, because then it, it gives you different ideas that other people have, that maybe you had that question, or maybe someone that you're talking to might have, so kind of nice. I like to read the King James Version better, because I'm more familiar with the wording and stuff, and so that's where I am with those. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the firmament and stuff for a second here. So the firmament is created to separate the waters under it from the waters above it. So it's basically putting, like a, it almost like sounds like an aquarium or something, but there's water on the top and there's water on the bottom, kind of sounds like that to me. Maybe anybody that reads it, you got your own idea of what it is, but basically that would say like out in outer space is water, and then underneath the firmament is water. And later on, in the next couple days of creation, they'll make the dry land into dry land and turn the water into seas and stuff. But just touching on the firmament now, it's kind of, I hope I'm not jumping way ahead and stuff, but a lot of people believe that it was actually a crack in the firmament that was what made the flood in Noah's time. I've done quite a bit of studying and stuff on this, and that's definitely one school of thought on it. Another thing that you're going to notice is everything that God creates in here is good. So everything that God creates is good. A lot of people believe that pre-flood time, since the firmament had the water, that everything grew bigger. A lot of people think that people might have been bigger. People definitely lived longer. 300 years and stuff wasn't uncommon back then. There wasn't sin as much as now. I read somewhere that I'm not going to say that I read it in the Bible, but I was reading it somewhere talking about that our 100 years basically was a curse, versus in the old pre-flood time, and maybe even post-flood, people would live to be a couple 100 years old, 300 years old. not sure post flood. I'd have to actually look into that. But things were a lot bigger. If you go to Wyoming, there's something that's called the Devil's Tower, and it's believed to be a prehistoric tree trunk, and it is huge. It's awe-inspiring. You can look it up and see pictures of it and stuff. It's just huge. So, that's an idea. Because some people want to say, like, well, how could you build the ark with timber to the cubits and stuff, because they can actually measure a cubit and stuff. And it's like, a lot of people are, of that school of thought are like, well, the trees were a lot bigger, so, you could build the hull of something that large with a huge piece of timber, and a 500-foot tall tree isn't super out of the question even these days. There's redwoods and stuff that are 300 feet high. So, but that's the day 2. Kind of rambled on a little bit a couple times. Hopefully I touched on some of the things that I needed to clarify and stuff to keep going forward. So next time I think I'll have the Hebrew or the Jewish Bible, and we'll start reading out of each. So thanks for tuning in again, and have a blessed day.